Hi Frankfurt, I'm Jess, one of the co-founders of Frank Body, and I'm here today with
Rachael Sarra.
We've been working on something very special together in collaboration with our friends at the Australian Literacy and Numeracy Foundation, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from and your practice.
I'm Rachael Sarra. I'm a very proud Gurang woman from the Bundaberg area, but I've grown up and lived on Jagera country in Ipswich my whole life, and I'm an artist and designer and really excited and really proud to work with you guys on this collaboration with ALNF, and I'm just really excited to talk about it.
So Rachael, tell us about your practice as an artist and where your inspiration comes from.
Yeah, I think for me, my practice kind of stemmed from where I saw positive energy coming from. When I was growing up, I really wanted to, I guess, like all of us, figure out what I wanted to do in this world, and it kind of got to the point where I just wanted to feel happy and feel proud, and art really was that space where I was able to do that, and then I was able to turn it into a career, which is really beautiful. And I think art was great, but then once I was able to connect that with my culture, that's when it kind of became a really powerful vessel for me to kind of find my voice and speak up and be heard in a way that, you know, we have been denied for a long time. And I think stepping into that and really embracing that has been a really positive way to not only share my own story and find my own belonging within myself, but extend that to, you know, other young mob who are kind of finding their place to belong and really being proud of our culture. So I think doing that in a contemporary way, really focusing on really bright and engaging colors, and it kind of, what inspires me, I guess, is using art as a vessel to resolve what I'm grappling with internally and kind of really figure out what I want to say and how I want to say it. And the beautiful thing is, by me doing that, I really found that a lot of other First Nations people were able to resonate with that and really be empowered themselves to explore their own identity and their own story.
That's fantastic. So this is the beautiful artwork that you created for our limited edition original coffee scrub. I would love you to tell us about the story and inspiration behind this piece.
Yeah, well, this story I think is really beautiful because not only did I want it to represent my own culture, my own, you know, visual identity, as well as Frank Bodies, but also kind of paying homage to the values that ALNF stand for. And this story really is celebrating, you know, the diverse country that we're on and that energy that kind of is bubbling under that surface. And I think through the empowerment of, you know, literacy and numeracy, we can really kind of build that pride and that empowerment within us. So I really wanted to get that across in the artwork story.
So tell us about the specific design elements on this piece.
Yeah. Well, aside from perfectly matching to the artwork, unplanned, I really wanted to get across not only my own kind of contemporary colorway, working in with Frank Body brand, color and identity, but really kind of, I guess, for me, water is something that really sustains us and it gives us life. And, you know, a lot of your products are used in the shower, so we have that water element, or, you know, on our face. So I really wanted to be inspired by the waterways. And I guess when that washes over you, it's kind of a reminder from our past through to our present. And, you know, just that understanding that we're still here and we're still thriving and surviving. And I really wanted to get that across in the artwork to really empower everyone, but also kind of a moment of reflection for those who may be non-Indigenous, to kind of reflect on, you know, where our culture has come from and how long we've been here, and really get that story across.
I love that element of that, like, we are still here and not just surviving but thriving. Yeah. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, you know, ALNF really kind of thrive and strive towards, is creating that empowerment and that fact that we are kind of here, we're surviving, we're thriving. But, you know, through like literacy and numeracy, we are creating these like opportunities for ourselves and those self-determination. And I think that's just so important to not only share in the artwork, but to make people aware of the incredible work that they do.
That's exactly right. Their focus on not necessarily going into community and trying to impart their wisdom, but just focus on growing the wisdom that's already within the community, protecting First Nations languages, and then providing the opportunity to great educational resources that maybe people otherwise wouldn't have. They just do such fantastic work, and you represent it so well here.
And I think also because we are the longest continuing culture in the world, there is so much that collectively we can learn from and kind of implement into our lives from a sustainability perspective, from a knowledge practice. And I think it's just beautiful, and it's a really lovely pairing between all three of us.
So Rachel, I'd love you to talk to us today about the role of art and design in Indigenous culture.
Yeah, well, I think for so long, art and design was a way that we told our stories. You see it back 60,000 plus years of rock art in different weavings, and it's been something that we've been able to pass on to the next generation. I think for me, bringing that into, I guess, a contemporary landscape, I don't tell the stories of our old people, but in a way, I use that as a foundation to kind of tell the stories that we're grappling with today as First Nations people, which is very different to what it was 250 years ago, let alone 60,000 years ago. So the power of art is not only when we walk into stores and see this artwork as First Nations people, we can recognize that. We can see that as something that is culturally safe, as something that's celebrating our culture. But it's a way for us to kind of feel heard and feel seen and kind of represented within the community. So art is a really special way to do that, because we were talking earlier about how for a lot of mob, English is their second language. So to have that visual representation on packaging like this, it's not only making them feel important and kind of respected and kind of welcomed, but it's like that moment where you feel proud to kind of be part of the longest continuing culture in the world. And part of that responsibility is also preserving our culture for the next generations, and I take that on board with my role as an artist and making sure that it is kept alive and it's celebrated and it's evolving, and in different ways it's just a way for us to feel seen and to feel heard and feel represented.
So our team reached out to you because they absolutely love everything that you stand for, and your art speaks for itself. It's beautiful and tells such rich, layered stories. I'd love to know from your end what attracted you to this collaboration between Frank Body and the ALNF.
Yeah, well, for me, I love your products. Firstly, I use them at home. And I think for me, when I'm looking for collaborations, it's about that shared value and that shared understanding and making sure that we do align, and that very much was met by Frank Body, and to have that added element to support ALNF is just something that is really important to me as an individual, but also as a business and as an artist, to make sure that when I work with brands like yourself, that it's not just me that's benefiting, it's me paying it forward to community as well, because I think for me it's something that I take with a lot of pride, that I'm given this opportunity. And to be able to pay that forward within communities that may not have the same access or the same awareness as I've been fortunate enough to have. So I think it felt right, that gut feeling, it felt right, and I'm really proud to share it.
If you're wondering how this collaboration came about, my background's actually in ESL teaching. That was how I started my career, and I partnered with the Australian Literacy and Numeracy Foundation about 5 years ago because I believe so much in the importance of the work that they're doing. Having worked in the education system and being the daughter of 2 teachers, I knew firsthand how vital the assets and the education and resources of ALNF were providing are. I would love to understand or hear your perspective on what you think about the importance of literacy and numeracy skills, for First Nations people, they're countrywide.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you're making, because for me, it's so vital for, I guess, our existence. We talk about, as First Nations people, this idea of walking in 2 worlds, and that's this idea of having one foot in that cultural space and one foot in the Western space, and making sure that we can navigate that in a way that's safe for us, and that we can be proud of our culture, but also kind of thrive in our community. So numeracy and literacy it's access to information. In some ways it's vital in that it's our health, it's our well-being. What I love about ALNF is that they're creating this safe space and this culturally safe space for mob to, get that understanding. And in a lot of ways, the current curriculum doesn't really, create that cultural safety. So to have someone that is their primary focus is to empower First Nations people in that space. That's really important, and it's something that I think it will only grow stronger, and our communities will only grow stronger as well. So yeah, I just think that the work that they do is vital, and I think sometimes people may underestimate that a lot of mob is like English is their second language, and when you think about that, even with art and design and language, that's access to information, and sometimes that information can be a matter of life and death, and like that's the
reality of it. When I met Kim, one of the founders of the ALNF, she talked to me about, you know, the problems that closing the education gap was solving, and it was things like if you don't know how to read and write, how do you fill out a form to get a Medicare card? How do you fill out a form to go to the doctor's office, get your driver's license? It restricts somebody's ability to participate in the world so greatly. And for those of us who were fortunate enough to have access to a great education, or English is our first language, we completely overlook the restrictions that this places on other people, whether they be First Nations people or immigrants to Australia, or people who may just have difficulties with literacy and numeracy. So it really is a matter of life and death for so many people, and then just creating opportunities for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this limited edition coffee scrub launches during NAIDOC week. I would love to know what you would like everybody to be reflecting on during that time.
Well, I think NAIDOC week is such an important week, but I think it's also important to understand that we're here 365 days a year, and to make sure that we are centering First Nation voices as much as we can and empowering those voices as much as we can. It's a great celebration during NAIDOC week, and it's something that a lot of mob kind of get together, and we haven't had it for 2 years, so this will be a big one. But I think the main takeaway for me is making sure that the commitments that you're making during this week need to extend throughout the whole year. They need to kind of be considered less as a separate kind of way of thinking and more embedded into core business within your brand. And rather than a tick the box, it's really quite important for the future of First Nations people. And you know, we have a lot to offer. We have a lot of knowledge. We've been here for 60,000 years, and to kind of embed that within just 7 days a year, I mean, I don't think anyone's really benefiting from that. I think it's something that's really worth celebrating all year round and collectively just coming together.
I couldn't agree more. These moments in time that we have for so many different groups, whether it be NAIDOC week or International Women's Day, they provide us a moment in time to reflect, and then for a lot of people the conversation can just drop off and they don't think about it until the following year. So I completely echo your sentiment that yes, it's a great opportunity to catapult voices and discuss important issues, but if that's the only time we do it, then we're all failing at our job.
And I think in saying that, like, NAIDOC week is such a great week to kind of launch this product, because like you said, it's catapulting voices, and it's like putting a magnifying glass on this. So in saying that, I think NAIDOC week is such a great week to launch a product like this because of, I guess, catapulting those voices and having that spotlight on our voices, and kind of ALNF as well. Like, I just think that the more people can kind of see this and be kind of engaged by it, but then my hope for them is to take this away, learn more about culture, learn more about the foundation, and really implement that in their day-to-day life. And you know, I don't know about anyone else, but I do a lot of my deep thinking in the shower. So if this is sitting there, we can kind of all have really lovely thoughts and kind of really show our commitment to, you know, individual change within ourselves, but then collective change within the community.
I love that idea of taking that moment to yourself or for yourself to reflect on how you can participate moving forward. That's really nice. I know that so many people within the Frank Body community are very creative people. They're writing or designing, or you know, they might be painters or drawers. I'd love to know your advice to anyone who's thinking about a career in the arts.
I think do it, definitely. For me, when I started in the creative industry, it was very much undervalued and underappreciated. But what I really love about it is, like I said earlier, it's that way to kind of resolve what I'm grappling with. And whether that is kind of through digital art, painting, weaving, anything like that, I think definitely do it, because the thing that I guess I really love is with a lot of industries, there's like this preconceived idea of where you need to get to. With art, it can be anything. You kind of don't need to fit within this framework. You can really explore, and that self-expression and that exploration is something that really can help you understand your own identity and your own place in community. And I think people don't understand how much of an impact that has on our spiritual, mental and cultural well-being, and how that can, you know, create healthier humans in community. And when we have healthy humans, we have really great ideas. So I think just the beauty of art being that vessel to kind of create that momentum within community is something really powerful and something really exciting to explore. So definitely do it.
That's a beautiful philosophy. I love that. So Frankfurts, if you were wanting to stock up on your favourite scrub, now is the time to do it, because this limited edition original coffee scrub is only available for a short period of time exclusively on frankbody.com, and 100% of the profits will go to the ALNF.